And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Yes, on today's show, I've asked Cindy to join me. Now, who is Cindy? Cindy is a Lifestyles Unlimited Realty teammate. Yeah, she is somebody who has a realtor's license. She's been a realtor since 2008. She kind of knows what she's doing when it comes to transacting property. And we're really fortunate at Lifestyles Unlimited to have her on our team, because what Cindy does for Lifestyles Unlimited is she takes care of the great state of Tennessee. What does that mean? Does that mean she's the governor or something? No, that's not what it means. What it means is that she has responsibility for helping me as a Lifestyles Unlimited member get access to some great assets that will help me flourish my portfolio. It's as simple as that. But on today's show, what we're going to do is we're going to get into the personal side of Cindy. I want you to understand who's on the other side of the table. Now, when you get to know the Lifestyles Unlimited Realty teammates, you find out that they're people just like you. They put on their pants the same way, provided they wear pants. And at the end of the day, they are dedicated to helping you achieve the results you're trying to achieve. So with no further ado, let me do this. Let me bring Cindy onto the show. I want you to get to know her. And more importantly, I want you to understand who she is as a person, because you're going to understand that when she's a member of your team, things are going to change dramatically in your favor. So welcome to the show, Cindy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm having a blast. I'm just super excited to get to talk to you for a change. And it's not on the telephone. It's like over the live airwaves. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Great. It's great.
Yeah, that makes you nervous as all get out, doesn't it? It's okay. That's all right. We're just going to have some fun, because what I want to do is I want to get to know you. I want to get to understand who you are as a person. And to me, that's important, because that creates a relationship between the two of us. And essentially what you and I are going to do, Cindy, is we're going to model for our listeners how you create relationships with real estate agents, so that those real estate agents can provide you the data and the properties that you need so that you can, well, retire yourself. It's as simple as that. So as a new investor to the Nashville market or the Memphis market or any market in Tennessee, as a Texan, what's the first thing I need to know about those markets that's different from what I'm used to?
Well, I think just understanding our demographics in and of itself is important. So I would look at showing the differences in our two states, and getting them acclimated to those differences just in the geography, the population, the demographics, the corporations that are here, and what draws that rental market. It's a little different. I've used this analogy 100 times, that 20 miles takes 20 minutes here, whereas 20 miles might take 2 hours there. So there's a big difference. A lot of people try to, I can't buy a property unless there's a Starbucks or a 7-Eleven or whatever. And that's not necessarily something that is relevant here. So just drawing out the differences in what makes our market tick different than what makes, what happens in a different market or in Texas. So that's probably foremost the most important thing, because there are so many differences.
Yeah, I'm essentially going into a different world. I mean, I can't take everything that I know about Texas and try and replicate it in Tennessee, because it just may not work, right?
Exactly, and exactly. And I've lived in both places, so I am very familiar with the differences. And so sometimes I can use the analogy of a particular town.
Now, when it comes to the expenses associated with real estate, the two expenses that we tend to pay right up front are taxes and insurance. Now, in Texas, we've been kind of inundated. Those costs have gone up because of natural disasters and other things that are affecting our markets. Is Tennessee as volatile when it comes to taxes and insurance, or are you guys a little bit more steady?
No, we're very much steadier, more steady than the insurance increase and tax increase that you all have experienced. And we do have tornadoes, but those tornadoes are so few and far between. And we're landlocked, so we don't have the natural disasters. And our taxes, again, they're assessed on a 4 to 6 year cycle, depending on the county.
So, Cindy, Tell me a little bit about yourself. I understand you used to be a Texan and you left Texas for the great state of Tennessee. Did you grow up in Texas?
I did. So I was an Army brat. So I was born here in the state of Tennessee. Moved to Texas as probably 7 years old, and then moved back here about 20 years ago, but I'm not going to tell you more than that because then I'll have to divulge my age.
Yeah, we can't do that on the air because that would be a big no-no. That's a big radio no-no. All right. So you have foundations in both Texas and Tennessee. You know those markets pretty well. So I think when I'm asking you comparison questions about the markets, you're an excellent source of knowledge for me. Is that a fair statement?
I think that's a very nice statement, yes.
Now, you've owned a real estate license since 2008. What caused you to go out and get that license?
So, funny enough, I used to buy and build homes for fun. So I got my license so that I could do that and kind of played around with it. But my real job was in the corporate world. And then I retired my license for a few years and then to focus on my corporate job, and then pulled it out of retirement and got back into real estate when I got tired of the corporate world just because of the hours and the demand, and wanted to, in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to diversify my income and invest in real estate. And what better way to do it if you're already in the industry? You have privy to a lot of information or properties that otherwise people may not, have available to them from the public side.
I think your dog is excited about the fact that you get some insider information in real estate. I just hear him going off in the background. He's having a blast. So since we're on this concept of insider information, is there really any insider information when it comes to real estate, or does all that stuff really just happen in the stock market?
Well, I would say there are some insider information ways of, when I say that, it's ways of finding the properties that you wouldn't necessarily have available to you. So if you're out looking for a property, I'm probably going to be able to find the same property that you're looking for, or a property, that type of property you're looking for, much quicker. And I've done that, and that's how I found some of my properties that I have owned and sold.
I think it's real important to point out that you use your time specifically in the focus of trying to transact properties. So you have to find assets, you have to link them up with people that will either buy them or choose to sell them, and then you have to make that transaction occur. So that's what you do on a day-to-day basis. That is not what I do on a day-to-day basis. So the skill set that you bring to the table is invaluable to a guy like me, because you've got your fingers in a lot of different places that I would like to have my fingers in, but I don't even know how to do it.
Right. Yeah, we live it every day, so we know what's out there, just like, any other industry, or we make it our business and our job to know what's going on.
Do you work with wholesalers?
We do. We have a number of wholesalers that, and they have their ways of finding those off-market properties, and we've befriended them, and they will call us and let us know what they've got coming, and that gives us the opportunity to match that property with a particular buyer that's looking for that model, or that renovated from a full renovation to lightly renovated. It's make ready, whatever. It helps us match quicker than you would be able to when you're looking.
No, I get that 100%. So let me ask you a question, because I like to use a real estate agent when I'm working with wholesalers, mainly because it puts that layer between me and that wholesaler, because, again, I'm an emotional guy when it comes to buying and selling property, so I really need somebody like you on my team to take the emotion out of it for me. But if I'm looking for assets that will provide me, say, an 8% cash-on-cash return, and it would give me the potential to double my cash investment into the asset. So in other words, let's say I put $25,000 into the asset, but I'd like to capture at least $25,000 of equity in the property. Does any place in Tennessee give me the potential to find a property that would do that for me?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have a lot of properties in different areas that would match that criteria. And so if you were to call me or one of the agents with that specific goal, that would be our target. So we would seek out and search out, and it's not always just waiting for the host seller or the other broker to call us. We are calling them, looking specifically for a property, or even we've gone as far as just driving into those areas, knowing that there's that type of property there, and searching the owner to see if they'll sell.
So you have different ways to go out and create the asset availability for me, ways that I couldn't even do myself.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
And it boils down to the relationships that you have as a licensed real estate agent. You're making relationships with owners of property, relationships with buyers of property, relationships with wholesalers. You're making relationships with all kinds of people, and I just have to make a relationship with you. When we come back from the break, more in Cindy's mind. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
We went from 100% live to 100% virtual. And the funny thing is that nobody wants to go back to work now that they work from home, right? So now my members are like, well, Del, we want to keep those virtual things open because now I know all the people in Miami and I know all the people in Chicago. I know all the people now know each other from all over the country because of these virtual events.
The free workshop, How to Retire in 5 Years or Less, is online. Go to lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second half of the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon. I'm joined by Cindy, and together we are working on your financial freedom. And what I want you to understand in this segment is that Cindy is not only a licensed real estate agent, she is also an investor. You heard me correctly. She's also just like me. She owns real estate. She has bought real estate specifically to put into her portfolio because she, too, is working on a thing called retirement, just like you are. So, Cindy, talk to me about all of this real estate that you have. Now, you own single family and you also own multifamily assets?
When I joined Lifestyles, I had already purchased a single-family home because I wanted to diversify my income, but wasn't really sure, which sounds ironic, but I wasn't really sure how to build on that. So I came across Lifestyles and I joined, and I thought the best way to do that was to dive in and become a passive investor. So I went into 5 investment properties passively, and then thought, well, shoot, if they can do it, I can do it. So I bought a quad and managed that both of them myself, and then sold both of those properties almost back to back, about a month apart from each other, and pretty much doubled my money because I hit the market at a great time, and I put those funds into 2 larger multifamily properties. So now I have 2 multifamily properties.
That you own yourself?
That I own myself, yes.
So you're an independent rental operator.
Yes, I am.
That's amazing. And this is what I want the audience to understand. Cindy is not a typical real estate agent. Cindy is an investor. She understands the investor mindset. Don't you think that that would make a significant difference in your ability to transact properties if you had Cindy on your team? Cindy, you don't have to answer that question. I'm actually talking to the audience. And I think I'm looking out there and I'm seeing their heads nodding up and down. I think it's very important to have a realtor on my team that also understands the ownership side of real estate, specifically because you understand the nuances that I'm going through, and you probably have a better sensitivity to how I'm working my way through the transaction because you've been there, done that yourself, correct?
Right, yeah. So I experience all those and have experienced all those nerves that, is this the right thing? Do I do this? Do I do that? Or is this about to happen? Vacant units to leasing units to, on the purchase side, does this investment make sense? So, is this the time to sell? Do I hold on to it longer? All those things, all those things run through my head. And so when I'm looking for a property and for a member, the first thing that comes across my head is, would I buy this property? So if I wouldn't buy it, we may not necessarily have the same criteria. So it's not so much that as, would I buy that property because it's a good investment? So that's important to me. So anyone who works with me and any of my agents from that standpoint, I really focus on not just selling any property. It's selling a property that makes sense for what you need or want so that you can achieve your goals, right?
Yeah. It's like having a second set of eyes on the transaction. And, and I think that's huge. That is huge to me because you might pick up on things that maybe I don't pick up on from an owner's perspective that a typical real estate agent that doesn't necessarily own property may not pick up on.
Right. And so I do consider us a team when we're working together. So I'm looking out for those things that I would be looking for. And I know the area very well. So that's, I'm able to tell you yes or no, and I have told people before, this is probably not the property for you, but let's keep looking and we'll find it, because that's more important.
It's kind of like a sixth sense to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge. That's huge to have on your team. I mean, that's amazing. So let me just change gears on you a little bit here. How is the strength of the single family market in Tennessee as a whole? I mean, are you guys, what kind of inventory are you guys seeing? Are you dealing with the same lack of inventory the rest of the country is dealing with, or are you more of a balanced market?
So our inventory is down, just like, everybody else in the entire world probably, but we are coming up with ways or different ways to get those properties. So we may have depended on the MLS previously. Now we're looking beyond the wholesalers and identifying properties and finding the owners. Or so it's just a different avenue that we've had to be creative because of that. The interest rates and inventory both have caused, or the interest rates going up higher, I should say, have caused the inventory to go down, but it's not necessarily that our buyer market has gone down. So that's just caused that need to be more creative in searching out the properties.
How big of a property did you buy for your first multifamily asset?
My first multifamily was 8 units. It was operated by a small local group in that town that had them and was ready to sell. I paid $125 a door, and the going rate in that particular town was about $135.
Wow. So you bought it $10,000 per door under market?
I did. And that was at that time, and that was 2 or 3 years ago. And now it's about $145 to $148 a door in that area.
How are you doing on the rents?
So this is a funny story. Are lucky for me. The rents were going, the current leases that were in place when I purchased the property, they were $800 and $850. And when I bought the property, as the leases renewed, I jumped them up to $1,100.
That's a pretty significant increase.
Right. It was. But that was for that type of property, that was the rate. And I thought, well, I'll just take my time, but I want to get the right renters in and be at market. And so I did it. Funny enough, I didn't even have to. It takes me about 3 or 4 days to lease. So the demand is so high there that I don't have any problems. And now we're up to $1,200 a unit.
According to Mr. Calculator here, you've made a lot of money, Cindy. Are you aware of that?
I am, and it does excite me.
I mean, I'm just running some quick math here, and I'm thinking you've easily picked up an extra $160,000 in equity in those assets, and I'm not even using your specific numbers. I'm just using guesstimate numbers. I think that's an amazing result. How long have you owned that property?
I've owned my 8 unit I'm going on 3 years. 3 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing. Now the other property, how big is the other property?
So my newer of the purchases, I guess, is 18 units, and I bought it a year and a half ago. It was about an 8-month time span between the first property and the second property. So I'm at 2 years on that one.
Was that because you had to wait 6 months to buy another property because the lender wouldn't let you go buy another property, or is that just because you didn't find that property for 6 months?
So I came across this property. It was off market. Again, I just was talking with another broker. He mentioned that he had one that was going to come on the market, but needed to get a contract on it quickly, and so I did it. I jumped in and went ahead and sent in my offer, and the developer that owned the whole area out there asked if I would wait, and because he wasn't ready to sell, and I said sure, as long as I can maintain my contract, we just extend the close date, which we did, and lo and behold, COVID hit. Prices skyrocketed, but I was locked in at that lower rate, and so I walked into even more equity on this one, so much so that I was offered well into six figures if I would walk away from the contract.
Really? So somebody was willing to offer you six figures just to walk away, and you wouldn't even had to own the property. You just made money just by having a contract?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
What'd you pay per door on that property? I'm curious.
So on this one, I paid, it's in a different town, but just as strong of rental market. I paid $128 a door, and the going rate right now is $148.
Holy smokes. So
yeah.
my brain just exploded on the air. I hope I didn't get all your speakers messy. But so essentially, you've got 18 units. You've increased the value of those units $20,000 per door? I did.
And that was right place, right time, and willing to hold off on closing for whatever reason the seller was wanting to wait, and it worked to my advantage.
Well, Mr. Calculator is telling me that you made a cool $360,000 doing what you just described. How does that make you feel?
Oh, I was excited. I'm so excited.
I'm thinking excited is probably an understatement for how you really were feeling, huh?
Yeah. It was. I knew I was walking into equity at the beginning, but then when I was offered cash, not once but twice, if I would just walk away, I really knew, okay, this is a good thing. So yeah. And it was a very similar circumstance. It was, not the same seller, but very similar circumstance in that when I got the property or bought the property, the leases that were in place were a little under market, not as significant as the first property. But as the units turned, I increased the rents, and the demand is so high that I get calls often if I have any units available. So it's
man,
fantastic.
I'm just sitting back in awe of you, Cindy, because I'm realizing that you've essentially bought 26 units over the past 3 years. Those 26 units have made you well over $500,000 in equity growth. I'm sure they're providing great cash flow for you, and I'm sure they've made a difference in your life.
Oh, 100% made a difference in my life. I could definitely live off the income that I'm making.
So you're real estate retired. I love that. Cindy, you just announced to the world you're real estate retired. Congratulations. Welcome to this side of the table. We are so glad to have you. If you want to do what Cindy's doing, you want to do what I'm doing, go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for a free workshop, and let's get you going.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.